So the last problem for today is Sudoku. So we have to create a Sudoku solver. So what we are given is a Sudoku board, and there are some numbers printed on the board. And assuming there's all of those numbers are valid in a valid position. Okay, so we have to, what we have to do is find the final solution for this, which says that it is valid Sudoku. So for those who don't know Sudoku, so the valid condition or the valid state for Sudoku is if you have all the row in each of the row, all of the numbers are unique. Means every number is from 1 to 9 is placed only once. In all of the columns, they are placed only once. And in each small 3 by 3 box, they all numbers should be unique, right? So suppose this is a solution, you'll find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 only once. And the same combination for the corresponding rows and matrix also will be valid. Okay. So any confusion on the problem set? I think most of the people would have definitely at least heard about Sudoku, if not played.
Yes.
Right. So any approaches? How would you do it? Any ideas? Anyone has solved this one? Any other approach? Anything? Any ideas? Let's start with ideas.
I think if I solve this problem, I'll use the DFS and to replace the empty space with digital from 1 to 9. And then I'll go to the next empty space to try if it's valid. Yeah, if it's valid. And
how would you find whether that value that you're placing there is valid or not?
You can use the backtracking. Yeah, if it's valid, I'll go to the next empty space. If the next empty space, I'll try from digital 1 to 9 and to see if it's valid. And again, recursively, I can find the final solution.
Okay, so based on the some of the inputs, like there are some numbers given. Is there a way we can find out some of the states that may not be valid to even go further in the DFS? Like let's suppose here, if I have to place something here, and I'll start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And every time I place a number here, I have to actually go inside and try to place everything else and then find out whether it's a valid or not, right? So is there a way we can prune these DFS trees in some way based on the input that we are given? Like suppose let's take this position. I have to place a 1, and suppose I do place 1 and then I build up the entire subtree here, right? And then I place 2 and I build this entire subtree here. How would I know whether that the 2 I have placed is actually going to create a valid Sudoku? Right, so every point that we are placing, we need to make sure that it is going to produce a valid Sudoku result state, right? Like for example, I cannot place a 3 here. If I place a 3 here, there's another 3 on the row, which is already in the input state, right? I cannot place a 5 here because this is also in the valid input state.
Yes.
So any ideas on how we would like to prune this tree? Because what will happen is if you don't have any inputs using this and we try to create, so every cell will have 9 possible values, right?
Yes.
So essentially be a exponential tree. So could someone, just guess the time complexity if we don't have any input? All the cells are blank.
So for each cell, if it is empty, it is taking all the 9 digits. It's going for, like, worst case, it's going all the 9 digits.
Correct.
1 to 9.
What? Sorry?
So for each cell,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a worst case, if it's on each cell, if it's empty, and we need to find, like, we need to go till 9, all the 9 elements, like if that element is not placed over that.
Correct.
So for each one cell, it's an option of going to the 9.
Okay, so it will be around, if we have a binary tree which is having every 2 levels, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes 2 raised to power n.
2 raised to power?
Right? 2 raised to n. If we have n elements and every digit has a branching factor of 2.
Yes.
So based on that, what will be the time complexity for this one? We have 9 as a branching and how many elements?
9 raised to power. What's the
So
size
here,
of?
number of elements is n square, which is 9 square is 90. 80.
Yeah.
So it's very huge if we
Yeah.
do not use the input that is given to our fine tuning of the algorithm. So any other approaches or any other guesses on how we can check the valid state, because the entire Sudoku puzzle is based on how we can validate valid state of things in the current game. Any guesses?
I believe the person who was suggesting the first approach, she was saying that she will try only the cells which are empty, and she was also suggesting that if it is valid. So if she can come up with what valid means, I think we are talking about that approach now. I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the main point. How do we define a valid state? Someone was actually, I don't know the name, I could not see the participants, but someone was trying to describe this process of taking empty states and filling them up with all the values and checking whether it's a valid state. And any idea, guys? So usually the thing that intuition comes to me, at least for these kind of problems where there's a game state, is it has to do something with DFS, backtracking, or graphs. So that's the first thing that comes into my mind. It may not be correct always, but that's the first thing that I get as an intuition. So if we think of this entire board as a game state, okay, and we can update the states one by one. The only thing we have to check is if we can reach to a valid state, right? Now, sorry, someone was saying something?
No, sorry.
Okay.
You carry on.
So, yeah, so what is the valid state here? So anytime I place a number at one empty box, let's say this one, it should not violate the, the condition 1, which is essentially each digit must occur at least or exactly once in the row. Each digit must occur at least, exactly once in the column and exactly once in the 3 by 3 subgrid. So if I place 1 here, it's properly valid and it's able to, satisfy all the 3 conditions. So what I'll do is I'll place 1 here and move ahead and try to fill up other ones, right? Now let's assume the 1 is not able to give me the final outcome. At some point it is getting stuck where there's no moving forward based on the valid conditions. Right? So I'll reach here with 2. Now 2 is also valid here. I'll move ahead and try to fill up rest based on the same condition. When I come here and try to place 3, I cannot place 3 here because this sub box is also having 3 as the element which will violate condition 3 and the row which will violate condition 1. So definitely I can directly rule out 3 from here. Right? And the same way I can try all the possible values from 1 to 9 because that's your entire domain range that can happen into any of those boxes. Right? So essentially what we're doing is place a value here and try to fill up other values based on what is filled here. So if you have, I don't know if you guys have seen n-queen problem. So what we try to do is position one queen at a location and try to fill up other queens at their appropriate locations. Does it make sense till now?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're doing is essentially the same. We are first placing a position here and then recursively changing, now the state of the problem has changed. Now it is not 5, 3 and these many. There will be one more value, suppose 1. And we'll again do the same activity, considering that the input is now having these 4 values, this value also as well. Right? So let's say we have this smaller set of, it's not a Sudoku, but it's something like we have 4, 1, 3, 2, right? And we have to only take care of conditions of rows and columns here. So what I'll do is first try to this as input and try to place some values over here. Now suppose I place 1. I'll again do the same activity, but now considering my input has changed, my input is something like this. 1, 4, 1, 2, 3. Right? So you see there's a recursive pattern. The problem solution is exactly same. The only thing is your input state has changed. Earlier it was not this one, now it has 1. Right? And now you have to try to figure out everything in this box. So if you are able to build an entire solution based on this state, then definitely this state is also valid, right? So you're essentially transforming this state into this one, and with some steps into a final state, which will have all the elements filled in 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the values filled in with no rule violation. Right? If you can reach this state and you backtrack, this initial state is valid. And this is your final answer for this one. Once you reach the state, it's the final state that you have to just return as the solution. Does it make sense?
Yes, but what would be that? We'll have to do it for each and every cell. We'll have to calculate for each and every remaining cells.
Yes. You'll have to take each and every cell and try to find out what is the valid values over there and try to fill those up.
Okay.
That's what backtracking is all about, right? You have to build up each solution, each state, and try to find out whether that state will take you to the final solution.
Okay. And how we are going to validate that it is going to take us to the final solution? Is there a way or just a like hit and trial method only?
So backtracking is essentially a hit and trial method only. You just build up all the solutions. At the final, you see whether it's a valid solution or not. Okay. So essentially what you're doing is if you can fill up all these cells, right? And there was no violation in filling any of the cells, you have reached the final state.
Okay.
Right? And if there's, suppose there's a input state that is given, which is faulty, suppose we have 5 here and 5 here also, there's no way you can ever build, ever be able to build something which will take you to the final destination. If you place 1 here you'll at some point you'll be able to you'll reach a state where you'll not be able to move forward.
Okay.
Right?
What
And that is for your question, but there's always also written that you may assume that the Sudoku puzzle will have a solution. So we have to consider all the inputs are in balance. If it's not, then the only thing is we can try to build all the solutions, and if we are not able to fill up everything, that means the input configuration that was given was not valid.
Okay. Then the complexity is generally might be there in the exponential.
Right. So backtracking is usually higher. The only way we can reduce it by pruning. Like we don't go to some paths which are not going to yield us the output. Like as I said, you don't want to use 3 here, 5 here, or 7 here. In fact, 3, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9 are not going to yield any result. So you can prune that subtree entirely.
Yeah. The only possible solution here is 1, 2, and 4.
Correct. So you can only go to those 3 paths.
Okay.
The worst case complexity in this entire system will come when you have all the values as null or empty.
All the values is empty, okay. Which is 2 to the power 81.
9 to the power 81.
9 to the
Because
power 81. Okay.
it has branching factor of 9.
Yeah. Get it.
Right. So if we generalize this instead of 9 to 9 to a n cross n metric, anyone want to guess what would be the time complexity?
Yeah, n into n square, n to the raised to the power of n square.
That's correct.
Sorry, what was the question and what was the answer?
So I asked actually if it's not a 9 cross 9 Sudoku, it's a n cross n with the same logic. What will be the time complexity?
And what the answer was?
N raised to power n square.
Okay, n raised to the power n square. I was thinking like other way. Sorry. Okay, so what I was thinking, like we can also define it in a factorial term basically. So instead of being exponential, because now each row, the max I can put the number is in 9 ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have, so in worst case, first row, you can take like factorial 9 ways to fill, right? And we have 9 such rows. So we can say like, 9 into factorial 9. So very close to factorial 10, I believe. Like that is another way to have upper boundary.
Right, that's correct. I hope what Roger said made sense for everybody.
Can you just repeat it? I could not get it.
Okay, so what Roger said was, instead of considering this complexity in terms of n and n square, we can also take it in the form of a factorial. So if you have this rows, and let's say there are 9 rows, and each of them has 9 entries. So how many ways you can place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? How many ways you can put it? So if you place 1 here, there are n ways you can put a number here, right?
N
And
minus
if you have
1.
placed 1, there's n minus 1, then there's n minus 2. So which will give you n factorial. Essentially, in this case, it is 9 factorial because you have 9 values. Now, 9 factorial is number of ways in which you can produce this one. Similar way, you have 9 factorial here, 9 factorial here. So that will give you 9 into 9 factorial, right?
Oh.
Which Roger says is almost equivalent to 10 factorial.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
That's the worst case scenario. Any other approach, idea, or any suggestions on this problem? So I'll post the solutions for all the 3. Sorry?
So Puneet, actually you explained pretty well. Would you like to suggest a general approach for any backtracking algorithm so they can apply similar thinking for other problems?
Right. So essentially, for any backtracking problem, as I suggested, you will always have an initial state, right? Let me keep it mapped to the current problem that you are saying. So in our context, Sudoku initial board was the state, right? Now you can modify the state in some form, right? In this case, it's like placing 1 to 9 in each of the box, right? Is that okay till now? And this will give you a new state dash. Okay. And for backtracking, there will always be some set of, rules which you are trying to achieve. This is your final, achieving point, or you can say the final destination point. Otherwise, you are doing nothing but just the DFS. It's not backtracking. It's just DFS on all the states. So if you have some destination or some destination state you want to reach, you are essentially using backtracking to reach to that state, right? Now once you have modified this state into a state dash, right? Now just replace this state and put it here, right? And put the state dash into here. Okay, and the logic or the rules of migration or rules of changing the state will always remain same. You'll have a similar set of migration from state dash now to state double dash, right? And at every point when you're migrating from this state into another state, you just have to make sure that all rules are applied. If you reach any state dash where there's any point or any condition is being violated from these rules, you cannot move ahead with this state, right? You just go ahead and prune anything which is going to come after this, right? And then go back to the previous state and try to build some other state. Like in this case, we have values from 1 to 9. We can build 9 new states. And in case you are not able to move forward with all the 9 states, that means solution is not possible. Right? So all the approaches, it's like building an entire DFS tree. Like building an entire DFS tree. And from this path, I'm not able to reach a solution. I'm not able to reach a solution. I'm not able to reach a solution. So there's no solution possible. Right? And at every state, you're able to find whether you're able to reach that possible state or not based on the rules that are applied, the rules that are applicable to your backtracking problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Does anyone have any question? It's very clear.
No. So in this, supposedly we need to keep track of all of the last possible valid state also.
So once you find one state, you're done. You don't need to find any multiple states, right? You just need to find a solution, not all solutions.
Yeah, I got it. But I was just asking if final state is something and where the start state is something, then there would be an intermediary state. Then we'll have to keep a track of it, which valid intermediary state. Then the next state supposedly.
Right. So anytime you are moving forward, that's what we discussed. Anytime you are moving forward with any states, you know the path that has been covered till now is already valid. Because as soon as you see there's a violation, you'll not move forward with these states, right? So you'll stop here only.
Getting.
That's why you check all the rules at every state that you have created. Otherwise, what will happen is your best case or worst case or everything will always be n raised to 4 n square that we discussed, right? Even if there's 5, we know in the problem, if we see, we know there's a 5 just beside the input state only here, right? Why would we go ahead with putting a 5 here and then trying to see whether it can build a solution? We for sure know that in this only, the 5 is going to violate the state rules, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other question, guys? we are already over time.